everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And this is the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm fairly certain this is episode 83.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
I think.
That sounds like a good number. I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
So
you saw a Foo Fighters concert last week?
I didn't, but that would be really funny.
Yeah.
I'm always a late adopter to music, and I just heard like 2 days ago a bar song. And it was just been out for
a bar song.
The bar song.
The bar song.
Oh gosh, Alan, is this your confession that you haven't heard the bar song?
No, I think we listen to entirely different music now. Who's the bar song?
We're gonna play it. So I honestly was like, I thought you were gonna make fun of me for not knowing this.
No,
like 4 months.
Maybe I've heard it. I don't know.
This is way more embarrassing for you than it is for me, which is fantastic. That's the situation I wanted to get into.
I am totally.
It's an awesome song, and I'll show it to you later. But moral story is, Alan is way less cool than I am because at least I know what the song is.
I'll show you who Chapel Roan is.
Yeah, fair enough.
It'll be a whole different thing.
The great song. I bopped to it 3 times in the car ride here, which is a 15-minute car ride. So if that's okay. I just kind of replayed it. Song is fantastic, but I am always behind. And I was on this leadership seminar, 3 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And these students who are 16 were all talking about the bar song. And I was like, I don't know how that should not be adding up.
Yeah.
Listen, I was like, I can see why. I can see why. It's a great song. So we'll find out if our guest enjoyed that too. But but that's number one. And number two is I did unfortunately use maps to get here again.
To get back here.
And it's been 3.5 years of recording shows in this.
That's okay. We have not been in this room, I think, doing a show in a very long time.
It's true. So I get a pass for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's just
I was pretty embarrassed, but
we are in the middle of summer season, festival season for me, and
good point.
For you, I mean, you're out traveling and doing whatever. So
man, you turn that around in a good way. I like that.
Yeah.
I need that energy. Well, for those of you who do or don't know, and if you do or don't, we're going to say it anyway. Alan and I have been working with the 707 Hub for the last 3 or 4 semesters.
Yeah.
Another one coming up this semester. We've met some awesome people who are really passionate about what they do. And as you know, that's what we talk about on the show is people who are passionate about an idea. And Alan and I had the chance, and I'm going to open up my phone to make this really seamless, to host the Brood Ideas Challenge. This is and almost like a Shark Tank event, I would call it, just way less intense. Like, there's no like Mark Cuban or Kevin O'Leary. It's local business folks that are talking to students who have come up with an awesome idea and an idea that either has social impact or business impact, sometimes both. But Alan and I had the pleasure of hosting this, and my goodness, did we meet some people who are just killing the idea game. And our young folks in the community here in Milwaukee, of course, at Marquette, and now are at home for the summer. But we were able to get, and actually this is going to be a series, and spoiler alert, we're going to have a couple of folks from that Fruit Ideas Challenge. So this is the beginning of said series, and we have some amazing guests today. I'm going to read their names off because they're fantastic, and there's 4 of them, so we're pumped to chat with them. We have Gabrielle, India, Jasmine, and Maya, all the co-founders of Black Mindz. Yes. So ladies, welcome.
Welcome. I think this is a new record. This is the most people that we've had in one podcast.
It is. This is the big deal. So how do you feel you are setting a record with the most people on Hustling Sideways? Do you feel great?
Oh, yeah. 100% feeling great.
What if you're like, no, we feel indifferent? Anyway. Well, ladies,
first, we should check in. Where is everybody calling from? Yes. Are you guys all Milwaukee area, or where's home for a lot of you guys?
Yeah, home for me, I'm in South suburbs of Chicago, so not too far from Milwaukee, but far enough. But yeah,
sure.
Awesome.
Home for me, I'm on the border between Illinois and Wisconsin, so I'm in Rockford, Illinois.
Okay.
All right.
I'm in Milwaukee. Home is this lovely city.
There we go.
I'm from Milwaukee, but I have an internship in Chicago, so I'm in Chicago right now.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, you are. This is now the census for Marquette because everyone is either in Wisconsin or Illinois. So
yeah,
this covers it. That was perfect. Well, shout out to the South suburb because I grew up in the South side of Chicago, so that is my original home, and now we are both here in Milwaukee. But anyway, let's start off with you all. Why don't you just kind of start off introducing yourself? Where you're at in school, what you're studying, and then we'll get into how you formed this amazing organization of Black Mindz. So I can't tell who's first on the camera here, but why don't we start off in the order that you had answered that first question?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Jasmine. I'm a sophomore studying psychology and minoring in creative writing at Marquette. So.
Wonderful.
My name is Gabrielle Shoulders. I'm a sophomore at Marquette, and I'm studying in criminology and law studies at Marquette.
There we go.
Hi guys, my name's India. I'm also a sophomore at Marquette. I'm studying digital media and corporate communication with a concentration in communication leadership.
There we go. That is both of what our majors were.
That-
I was digital media and you were corporate
I
communication.
was. You are a combo of Alan and I. I hope that makes you excited.
I am so sorry.
My name is Maya Sabri, and I am going into my second year of grad school in the Student Affairs and Higher Education program, but I also went to Marquette for undergrad and got my bachelor's in psychology.
Fantastic.
Cool,
Which I love the plethora of degrees and of studies. I think it's so cool. And so that leads me to, how did you all meet? I think it's difficult to meet people out of your major oftentimes, but
Out of your college,
out
at
of your
least, for
college,
sure, yeah.
especially. What was that like? Was it because of the organization you formed? But whoever wants to take it, walk us through just how that happened. Maybe one met the other first, etc. We would love to hear that backstory.
I feel like I can start. So the first person I met was Jasmine, and we met in French class, and we also were in like abnormal psych together. And so eventually I think we were kind of working up to essentially saying hi to each other. And by the time we ended up eventually doing that, we ended up talking about Black Minds, and she's kind of asking questions about like what was going on with the organization and things like that. And the organization originally was started by one of my sorority sisters, but she had graduated. And so she was kind of encouraging me to take it over and kind of see where it could go. And so that's kind of where I was at and figuring out what did I want to do next. And then that's when I kind of brought it to Jasmine and asked her kind of was she interested in things like that. And it kind of kept going. Jasmine, you want to continue from there?
Yeah, so I actually, before coming into Marquette, I've like looked at Marquette's website and was looking for like clubs to join. And Black Minds like is a club. That's really originally where it started. And so yeah, I asked Maya about it and she asked me if I was interested. And I was like, sure, of course. And so then I brought in Gabby in India. I met Gabby separately, like I think during freshman orientation, I met Gabby and we just clicked ever since then. And then for India, we're in the same scholarship program. And I just, ever since I met her, I just knew she was amazing. She was awesome. And I just knew I wanted to work with them and just get them on board with the club and then eventually now the company. So
Very
Beautiful.
cool. So, what year is this that you guys all start to form this? Because there's a variance of ages here.
I was
Yeah.
go ahead.
You can go mine.
I was I was finishing out my senior year at the time.
And the rest of us were freshmen.
Okay. Sure. Okay, so then there's that little bit of like kind of like a big sister kind of element to it, which is cool too, to be like, hey, let's go do this sort of thing. Was that initial kind of planning, putting everything together with the four of you guys, when did you kind of notice that things were starting to click? I guess we can start with Maya on that one. When do you guys think that things were really starting to kind of mesh together, that working with everybody was going to work out?
I would say I think I had reached out to kind of like the student club department or whatever, just kind of to see what we needed to do to make sure the club stayed active and things like that. And so part of that was getting campus advisors involved. And so we ended up getting Carrie Lewis as well as another advisor and counselor. And we kind of worked together with them. And so I feel like having those two people together helping us, that's like really how things start to take off. And then when we started to meet each other, when I met Gabby in India as well, I was just like, this is a great team we have here.
That's perfect.
Anybody else want to add?
yeah, I'd say we're all very good with communication and understanding and how to distribute teamwork. Even because we do have specific roles, but like we all work and help each other out. And I just feel like that is just perfect. So I think that really meshes and helps us grow more. So
That's awesome. And I guess I'm kind of thinking to backtrack a bit. As a club, why was Black Minds created? What was the origin of it and in the purpose to make it? And then we can take that and move into you all forming it as a company. But I would love to hear just how that got created and obviously you all found out about it. But perhaps Maya or Jasmine, whichever one of you wants to take maybe a crack at that question, and then we'll go from there.
yeah. So how it the question was how it started, right? Or how
That's
it,
right. Exactly.
yeah. So we were just revamping it because like Maya mentioned before, it was a club before I was a freshman, but it kind of died out a little bit. So we just kind of brought it back and started revamping it. And the whole purpose was really just to like educate and help people understand that mental health is important, especially as a student, and within the Black community as well. Because I think that's really important to destigmatize mental health, especially in college. So just to form that community once again, since Marquette is already small and the Black population there is already small, I feel like it was really important to zone in on that. And really, it's like a fun way to learn about that. So I feel like that's how I'll start if anyone else want to add to that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
And
Yeah.
so really the commitment to empowering and advocating around mental health, particularly for Black students, is the core of what this group does. And are there events that are part of it? What level of of engagement do you have for members, or how do you become a member? And what does that look like for you all as you're really trying, we're growing your base of folks there?
So I can take this one. Eat once a month. It's very, very low stakes. I mean, you literally show up to the meeting. Normally we start out with like introducing ourselves, our roles in the club, then we do like an icebreaker. And then we go into just, okay, what's our topic for today or for this month? What are we going to focus on? It's like that's like a big topic in like the mental health community, but also too in the Black community, because having a safe space where students of color can really talk about different issues that they may deal with that they may not feel comfortable talking about with other people is just something that we really value. So cultivating that safe space is just really important to us. So doing that, educating them, okay, like here's our presentation. This is like boom, 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 give you the highlights, the points, the main points that we want you to take away about the topic. And then from there, just doing some sort of fun activity at the end that really breaks the ice all together, and just brings together the whole topic of whatever we were talking about for that meeting.
For sure. I do really like that you guys are focusing on this on a college campus, because I think college in general is so image focused. Like, obviously not the classroom part of it, but like everything outside of that, whether you're going to parties, whether you're meeting people on campus, whatever, is so based on like, okay, like, is this a cool person? Because they have to appear like they have it all together. You know what I mean? No matter what. Whether that's like how they carry themselves in class, are you going to go hang out with the guy that is showing up 5 minutes late and everything looks like it's disorganized, or are you going to go hang out with the guy that looks like he was like the high school quarterback, right?
Right.
Like,
I want just put, so that was an example of you and an example
I was
of
the
me.
first guy.
Right.
I was
Okay.
totally the guy 5 minutes late.
Make sure we're clear on
but
that.
like you have to like, it's a kind of an extension of almost high school in a sense where you're like, image does play a factor, and I think there is pressure on college campuses in general for people to look like they have it all together when it's a really stressful time, because after this you're kicked out into the real world, so what was kind of attendance looking like early on? Was it easy to get people to kind of talk about this sort of thing, or how was that initial outreach going for you guys?
I would say in the beginning, it was really hard because I think a lot of people felt as if we were trying to play therapist, as if like they were going to come to this meeting and we were going to deep dive into family trauma or like anything that was going on. Especially in the Black community, mental health is not really talked about. So to have a club with Black students, I think they felt as if we were going to just peel back every layer and like dissect them. But I think once they started seeing our amazing reels that India was putting out to Instagram and seeing how it's literally just, let's have a conversation. It's student led. We do a fun activity. More people started getting comfortable and showing up. And we went from like 5 people to a meeting to like 15, 10 people, which is, thank the Lord. It was so nice. It's so nice to see everyone come out and smile. And India does a great job of capturing everybody, like relaxing and enjoying it. And that in and of itself just brings more people. And those people bring their friends. And
so I love that. In India, is that something that you've had experience with prior, or was that something that you found as a passion or a talent for you when you joined this organization and began being put in that quote unquote spotlight? What was it like? Are you now good at it, or was that something you were like, yeah, I could do that? Like, let me get it and let's roll.
So honestly, it was kind of like a hidden talent, if you will. I call it my hidden gem that I kind of just mined through being in this work. But also too, like even outside of Black Minds, like doing it for my church. Somebody reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to like help make like just get our name out there?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, okay." So then I started doing it there. I'm doing it in Black Minds. Last year was literally all like social media, just India. Let's get this real. Let's do this real. I'm having all these ideas, and honestly, it was just really, it's so fulfilling. I feel like I call it capturing moments. I really do. I really don't put a lot of pressure on myself to like, oh, we need to get the reels, we need to get the likes, the follows. Like it's more so cultivating that, again, cultivating that community and letting people know like this is who we are, this is what we're about, and just giving them like the best picture or the best glimpse of what attending one of our meetings is like. And it's really awesome getting to improve our digital presence online and also just keeping people informed about like what's happening on
I
Marquette's
love
campus.
that. I think that's why it's successful. Your description there is really critical, because I think it would be easy to make something like this for the click or the like, or, oh, we're doing this, like, this is great, but you're actually cultivating an organic community of folks that want to get together, want to at least explore this part of their lives and do it with students. That's student led.
Well, think of too how much of that is like just going to the profile and probably checking out like what you guys are doing overall. Not, they don't see one in their algorithm and go, okay, yes, I'm going to sign up. So that is crucial, I think, is to have that social media presence to go, because somebody's going to click on that profile and go, okay, well, they're doing this and they're doing this, but it doesn't, like you said, low stakes is a really great way to, I think, bring it in, to be like, okay, it's not like group therapy. It's not like we have to show up and we're planting trees today because that helps your mind focus, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything that is out of the ordinary. You're capturing something that's authentic, which is really at the core of what anything successful probably is,
Yeah.
Let's talk about pivoting it from a club to a company.
I was just about to ask this. Ellen and I were very aligned. Yes, let's pivot to company. Go ahead, Ellen.
When did the wheels kind of start turning on that, and who was kind of pushing that sort of direction for it?
Well, I can speak for myself here. The first time that I kind of wanted, like really felt that this could be turned into a company was we had a chance to speak at a conference, mental health conference that was held at Marquette. And we were talking to these adults, these parents about what we do at Marquette. And one lady asked us, hey, is this at this college? Like my daughter is going to this college. Is there a club there? Is there like something similar to you guys? And we just said like, no, this was formed at Marquette, is only at Marquette right now. And then we got more people saying, oh, you should try to expand this. You should try to push this here. And that's where it clicked for me. I was like, wow, we really could. And our advisor, our other advisor, besides Carrie, her name's Marie, she actually came up to us and saying that we should connect with 707 Hub to see if we can get these things, get it rolling, get us to expand, to go to different colleges and universities to get to help other people, help other students that may not, especially at PWIs, that may not have this outlet that we have created. So that's what really got the gears turning.
Yeah. What was the first college you guys got to go to outside of Marquette? And what was that experience like for you guys? Because I would assume that has to feel like the coolest feeling to be like, look, we're taking this thing, elsewhere. But what was kind of that reaction?
So we did reach out to UWM, UW Milwaukee, just to start, local. So we reached out to another group that was Black woman led, and we did that towards the end of the semester. So we're planning on having like a first visit as soon as we go back in the fall. So we have the 707 hub behind us, but along with our students here at Marquette, hopefully they'll join us at UWM and we get to meet more UWM students over there to just start branching slowly but surely.
Sure, absolutely. That's going to be awesome, I think, to take what you've cultivated and bring that somewhere else too. Is there planning that goes on in the summer, in the off season with you guys? How often are you guys all in contact with each other?
Other than recording podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've been meeting not too frequently, but we have been keeping contact, whether that be FaceTime, text messages, little updates here and there about our emails and stuff. Right now we're just doing all the teeny tiny things, like the little nitpicky things like legal stuff, trying to get that together. Um, and so yeah, we've just been dealing with that over the summer, making sure we're organized so that when we all get back together and everything starts picking up pace, that we're not scrambling and it's not slowing us down. So that's really what we're focused on this summer.
Sure.
Are you finding, like from your classmates and friends, like have you shared that this is an avenue that you're going down? Like, are people well aware that like, yeah, we're all in? And what have you found to be the reaction, if so, from folks? Like, do people want to jump in and help? Are they like, see how that goes? Like, I'm just always so curious of when you share this with your extended network of just like how that feels. I can imagine you're getting support, but would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I would say that a lot of our friends and students at Marquette that are Black and that are not Black, just people of color, they support us. I don't think we've gotten one bad comment, negative, shady, anything. Like everybody's rooting for us to take this as far as we can, which has also boosted us to have the confidence to do what we want to do because we know we have students behind us and we know that students rely on these meetings and we know students rely on us showing up. And so it's honestly been so positive. And we've decided to split like Black Minds kind of into two. So we have Black Minds that's going off into like the 707 portion where we, have a company, and then we have Black Minds that is rooted at Marquette. So we can show other schools that we can do both. So we have other students who have joined our team actually recently, and we're going to meet with them very soon. So they'll be working with us this school year to help make sure that Black Minds as a club at Marquette stays running and keeps going while we focus on building our business and expanding to other schools. So we make sure
That's
That's
gets
brilliant.
That is way more forward thinking than I think either
Oh
one
my
of us.
God. I wouldn't even have thought to ask that.
Yeah.
Like, did that come to you naturally, or was that something that, because I mean, to continue that is so critical, but how did that even pop up?
um we are college students and we have a full course schedule. And so we kind of just realized like, some things other students can't help us up on. And we were getting asked, like people were approaching us and saying, like, I want to join Black Minds. I want to join Black Minds. So yeah, and you guys can go continue on to the story as well.
Oh, no,
I
you're
would
good.
say,
You got
oh, I would say for me, my perspective is a little different as a grad student because after I finished school originally with my bachelor's, it kind of was like, well, what's next for me and what's going to be going in the future? And I feel like one of the main things that I was kind of concerned about was kind of where Black Minds would go once I graduated. Like I was positive. I knew that they could handle it, that everything would be great. But then I thought about, okay, when they graduate, what happens then? And so like longevity wise and making sure that it remains established at Marquette was really important to me and making sure that it kind of keeps going. So like from my end of things, I'm more focused on the business aspect, whereas since they are still an undergrad, they're kind of have their hands in both sides of things.
Sure. And speaking of that full schedule and everything that goes on with that, what does the kind of the week look like for you guys? Like how much time does get spent during the semester on Black Minds? Is this like a 5 to, like most people have a 9 to 5? Is this the 5 to 9 after that is time that is just spent for you guys meeting, or how long you guys spend working on this?
I feel like speaking from last semester, it definitely picked up more so towards the end of the semester, more towards like the Brew Ideas Challenge. But for me, working on it was kind of like you said, like that 5 to 9 part where I would do homework. It would be part of my, like, it would be on my homework list. Like, okay, work on Black Minds things, or we'll meet for like an hour or two after like work, after all our classes are over, just to, be all on the same page. So that's kind of how that looks. But honestly, we all give each other grace because we all have different workloads and we all have different jobs. So we tend to do things on our own time, but like we all get it done. That's why I appreciate them so much, because even though we're all dealing with things, is that we always get it done. So
Sure.
I think that's a really critical point because we oftentimes talk to people who are doing something themselves. I would say the majority of our guests are solo or their own entrepreneur, but to have a group behind it, there has to be a level of trust. that it's going to get down, the accountability. And I
Yeah.
love the word grace. I think that's a really critical one. We don't often do that. And so I think and I could tell that you are all very intertwined in that way, that the other one's going to get something done. It's going to happen. It's going to be good. When they do it, fair enough. Maybe it'll be at midnight, maybe it'll be at noon, whatever time it is, but that will happen. But I think that's really like, you've integrated it into your daily routine in some way or another. And it's probably a cool way to get away from the monotony of like studying for history or study, whatever it might be. Like, do you find yourself when you're like, oh, good, I could get away from this book and think about Black Mind stuff, like instead of studying for the anthropology test?
Do you work when you don't work? Kind of thing?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's basically what it is. Like, do you procrastinate a little bit by being able to work on Black Minds things?
I feel like you can definitely get lost in Black Minds and be like, okay, this is so much easier than like you said, studying for anthropology or like a criminology test or something like that. Because it's so nice to be, or sometimes I'll channel that. Like, so I send out the emails to students. So I'll be like, you know how hard this time is. Just know, like at the end, I'll be like, Black Minds is here for you if you need anything. Because I know that's what I would need to hear in that time of day or in that moment when I'm sending that email. So I know there's other students out there who need to hear that like little reminder. So not only like a grace period, but it's also just like we see you too to other students because we are doing the same thing and we're not above any other student at Marquette either. So it's like we just love to build that bridge of like, we're all the same and we're all equal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
so go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's how you know that you're passionate about something is when you can get lost in it and work on it. Like I am that way with breaking and entering, with writing about music, like I can go down a wormhole of like fixing something on the website, and that might be an hour of my morning.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad that it's an hour of my morning because I'm like, oh, I gotta get this thing done because you get passionate about it. You get sucked in by it,
Totally.
So, yeah.
I wrote a keynote back in April. It took me 6 hours on a Saturday and I loved every minute of it. Like it was like a new thing. And that would, and anything my ADHD, like if I did something for 6 hours, no way. And I was like, this is great. I did 3 rounds of it. I practiced it and got it written. And it was like, that's because you love doing it. That's a story. I do want to ask just in terms of having these meetings and meetups with, with your members, have you ever encountered someone who perhaps maybe didn't take it seriously or maybe showed up and this wasn't necessarily a group for them or it wasn't like a right fit? Has that ever happened? And if so, has there been like a conversation attached to that? Or I just can't imagine that like coming to something like this may not be totally for everyone. And has there been a moment where you're like, that person may not be the right fit for this particular thing? And if it hasn't, that's wonderful too. But I'm curious if that conversation has ever had to arise after someone made a comment that maybe wasn't appropriate or something like that, kind of in a session.
For us, luckily that has never happened. No one has outwardly acted out during one of our meetings. And like the most is just people would just be quiet. But honestly, as long as they're there, even they're listening to what we're saying, they're listening to the topics that we're talking about, how to like maintain your mental health. Like as long as they're listening, even if people like don't participate. But we've never had anyone who's not like a fit for the club, really.
Sure.
So yeah, but
that's good.
Yeah, not to jinx that.
Yeah, right. I was
also say that
into existence. Here we are. Don't mind me.
I will say that it sounds like community is a big part of this too, even though, like we said, it's not group therapy, but like community events and figuring out, finding your people, I think is important too, right? Are there resources that like people that come to the group meetings that members have that, in like the off season like this in the summer where is there a place for them to communicate or at least be active within Black Minds still?
I would say just like our Instagram. We still try to like post. We all have access to our Instagram, so we can answer any message that we get. But a lot of the students that go to our meetings, they get to know us. So they'll reach out to us personally. Like we are so not shy when it comes to giving out like our Instagrams, ourselves, our social medias, anything else, because we are more than just Black Minds. I'm not just Black Minds. I'm Gabby Shoulders. I'm a human as well. So it's like maybe they feel like that's too professional to reach out to Black Minds and they can't say what they really want to say when it comes to like a Black Minds user. So they'll maybe like reach out to me and ask me a question or reach out to Jasmine and stuff like that. Because like I said, we do have students who want to be involved with Black Minds and are going to a new year who have their own goals, and maybe that is to be involved with their own community. So they'll reach out and say, I want to be involved in some way, shape, or form. And we find a way. We do a lot outside of just planning our own events, we attend a lot of events. So we try to promote other colored events on campus as well. So students can just have, and Instagrams and social medias, so that they realize that there's a lot more to fall back on when you're home for the summer than we all realize, and more stuff to keep up with.
And we also have really good connection with the counseling center and other different mental health resources on campus. So we always, like, on every meeting, almost, we always advertise that. We always say, like, we are here, but if you need serious help, we can only do so much because we are also students ourselves and we're not licensed therapists or anything. So we always plug in the counseling center, wellness center. And I'm pretty sure they're still up and running over the summer. So yeah, so that's also another resource.
Cool. That's perfect.
That's very cool, and it's, I think, very necessary too, because
No doubt.
you never know when you will find somebody that has a very serious issue that you know, they have resources available through you as a conduit for that. You know what I mean?
Which really goes into the safe space that you're creating. I think, you know, like you can open it up to a topic that may be, you know, that may have someone react in a certain way, and then they also have help outside of this class or class. Goodness, I'm sorry, your group. And I'm thinking school in my head. I apologize, but I think that's a really important component, and I would imagine people feel a level of comfort to doing that. I'm curious about the topics that you all choose. Do you have a list that you're going through? How are you getting that? Are you running it by each other? What does that process look like per meetup, and how you choose a topic?
So we usually meet like a couple weeks in advance before. So we like to keep a strict schedule when it comes to our meetings, because we know that people are also full-time students. So we usually meet the second Thursday of each month. So we like to meet beforehand, and we'll think of like what's going on in current times. Like, are the holidays coming up? Are people going to be spending a lot of time at home? I say that because that was the most impactful meeting we've had personally for myself. So we did have a meeting where it discussed like how to stay level-headed when at home, because we know family is hard to deal with sometimes. We all have family members that are just very, just
They're
like
outspoken or whatever. They're a lot. They're a lot.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we just like to base our meetings based off of things that are currently happening within the area or in the time frame, or we do stuff like we'll mesh with other groups on campus. So we had a collab with Vogue MU at Marquette. So that was also like a fashion-based club, and how you can show your style through being yourself, because we know that being a person of color on Marquette's campus, we tend to kind of just blend in because there is such little of us. And so that meeting was based off how to like stand out and continue to be yourself and continue to stay true to yourself. Do you guys have any other meetings that stick out to you guys? Those are the two that I just love and hold dear to my heart.
The one I really like was forgiveness and how to regulate your emotions. I feel like that's very, very important, especially when you have stress, and sometimes people can, project that stress on other people. And so I feel like those two were really impactful. And then with forgiveness, we talked about self-forgiveness, because that's also really important. And I feel like a lot of people did end up liking that. And how we like, another way we get our topics is by our members, because we've had people ask us like, hey, do you guys talk about this? Like, we had someone, we didn't get a chance to do this topic yet, but we plan to do it further. But someone asked if we could talk about boundaries in relationships and how that looks and how mentally that can affect you. So yeah, and we do always run it by each other during our exec board meetings. We have prior to that, we just talk about it, see if we like it, see what activities will go well with it together. And so yeah, everything is like a team effort. One of us will bring up an idea, so we'll be like, oh yeah, that's great, and we just go on from there. So
Just one big Google Doc of all the different, like, pretty much all the
literally.
different topics.
That's so cool.
That's perfect.
I could just imagine showing up to this and like how fun that would be to have people have already pre-planned something that we're going to talk about that's like a cool deep topic.
Yeah, it's got to be like
have an
freeing.
activity
You
around
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I think you're creating a really critical experience for folks, and I'm not surprised they want to come back.
yeah,
Because I would
absolutely.
too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
What does this upcoming semester look like for you guys? I know we're in the middle of summer. Maybe you don't even want to think about the semester yet.
Don't go to class. No, I'm kidding.
No, no.
No, stay in school.
Yeah.
Stay in school.
What does this upcoming semester kind of look like for you guys? Are there certain points of emphasis for you that you're already thinking about? Or what's kind of the near immediate future for you guys?
So I know one thing that's definitely in the near future is getting closer to the new members of our exec board. So pulling them in, okay, getting to know them, but also figuring out, okay, what's our dynamic going to look like with having them really starting to spearhead, facilitate club activities as well, while we're also, mentoring them, but also branching out to other schools and other colleges and universities as well to establish Black Minds there. So that's a huge thing. And I'm really excited about that too. Getting to pass down like longevity and thinking long term, like, okay, what's our club at home base gonna look like at Marquette University? Like, what's that gonna look like? I'm super excited for that. And also to just, again, like Jasmine referenced in the beginning of like towards this podcast, really making sure that we're handling the little nitpicky details that really have a huge impact on having a solid foundation as a company. Because out the gate, we want to make sure as a nonprofit, okay, we have our different guidelines, different rules, different legalities in place, and having all of those things in place is really important just to, again, help with the longevity of our organization. So add on, but that's my take on it.
I say we really want to clean up the rough bits of it so that, like we said, the next people who would take on the club portion, it's just smooth. And they don't have to worry about a lot of things that we have to like figure out making like this new club. So yeah, I feel like that. And then like India, like you said, branching out company wise, I feel like that is really an emphasis that we're really emphasizing that bit. Yeah.
Very cool. So, okay, very cool.
I do have one question before we start to get into the final moments here. What was it like for you all presenting and pitching at Brute Ideas Challenge? Was that I see one reaction. Was that nerve-wracking? Was that like fun for you? Was that the first time that you've done something like that? Because yes, coming from the people who were there hosting it.
I was gonna say we didn't really get a chance to so we were hosting.
Yeah.
I think we were both coming in hot from something. You know what I mean? Like I had a show the night before. I think you had I had traveling
5 meetings before. Yeah, I was like,
so like we didn't really. We were just like, oh yeah, we got to host this thing, but we didn't really get to talk to like anybody that had pitched at this at all.
Well, you did so great. So I'm just like was that something that I'm assuming you prepped before? Like how much did that take, and how was that experience? Just for maybe you just do a round robin here for all of you, just kind of personally with what that felt like.
Personally, you can go, Maya.
Okay. I would say just like when we first were even considering like applying for the competition and things like that in the challenge, we kind of sat down with each other and considered like, do we have the time for this? Are we fully committed into this experience and this opportunity? And then once we kind of agreed that we were all on the same page, I feel that balancing it with school and jobs and work and everything was kind of a lot, but we are so passionate about what we do and what we're planning to do that it just kind of felt like we just kept going, kept going, kept going. And then when it came up to that final moment, I know, speaking for myself, I was terrified, but I knew that like my passion was there, that I genuinely believed in what we were doing. And kind of even speaking to, I expressed how nervous I was to my mom who came to watch the competition. And she was like, this is what you're passionate about. You know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. And that's kind of what we all were on the same page, is that we knew what we wanted to do. And a lot of people who spoke to us afterwards said, like, we can tell that this means a lot to you. And I feel like that's kind of what got us through the presenting portion of it.
I could say for me, I was so nervous. I was a nervous mess. Gabby can even tell you. She was sitting next to me, which I feel so bad for her because I was just so nervous. But like at some point I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself through this? But when stuff like that happens, I really have to think like you're not really doing this for you. Like there's thousands of people who need this, and you only have to speak for 5 minutes and then it'll be over. So I was nervous, but thinking like that and knowing that, the other girls were, speaking up there with me, and we had so much support in the crowd, even virtually, my family was watching. It really did relax me. And while I was up there presenting, I like we knew what we were talking about. We practiced so much. We had index cards. We were ready. And so once I got up there, I was fine. I was confident, especially answering the judges' questions. I was so nervous about that part. But I was like, oh no, we have done this for almost a year now. We know what answers to give. So really the worst part was just waiting for our turn because we were last in our section. That was
Yeah.
I know the feeling. That part, I've had to wait for.
I would say going first and going last.
Yeah,
The absolute
yeah.
worst.
One time I was given a keynote and they were an hour late in the schedule, so I was in the backstage literally pacing for an hour. It was disgusting. I just was sitting there like, and that's when I get way too nervous and I'm thinking about everything that could go wrong. I get it, but that didn't even show. So you were good. But anyway, I don't want to. I've cut off the remaining two folks here.
I would say.
I guess I.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
You're going, yeah. Okay. I was just gonna say.
You go.
For me, my experience was the same. The only thing I felt like was the hardest was when we obviously, as you heard, we have busy schedules. So we would meet with our mentor at 8 in the morning on some days. On Mondays, I was mute. I was not there. I would be like, "Can you guys, I'm physically here, but mentally I'm still in my dorm. I'm still in bed. My class doesn't start till 10." Like I was actively waking up I'm so glad I have such a great team because if this was just me, oh, I think that part would have just sank my boat. But they kept the notes for me. I would talk when I would realize what was going on. But I think that was the hardest part about this whole challenge for me and Teresa, our mentor, oh, bless her soul for dealing with us at in the morning. She gave us great advice. She helped directed us even when we were all just so tired and our thoughts probably just made no sense. But she was really great. And like I said, that was probably the most challenging. When it came to speaking on stage, like Jasmine said, we've been doing this for so long that it was like, I'm ready to talk about Black Minds. Like I'm ready for everybody in the world to hear me talk about Black Minds. So I was a little bit nervous, but once I saw everybody else presenting and the passion that they had for what they wanted to say, I was like, I have that passion. I know I do. So there's no point in being nervous because we all got it in the bag.
For me, yes, I was terrified. Just because we get together, we have I feel like we have a certain synergy when we do present together because we have done it for a year. So it's not like the actual act of speaking, but it's okay, it's a different audience. There's another level to it. We could tell, I just felt like we were on the precipice of something great. And I'm like, okay, I want this to work. Like we all did. And so bringing that passion, bringing that love for what we do into that space was, it was awesome. It was definitely very nerve-wracking at first, but once we got into our zone, we really honed in and did what we needed to do. And I mean, I grew up hearing this quote all the time from my dad: if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And I knew the countless hours, the time, the energy, the resources that we invested and sacrificed into making this a great presentation and really putting on a great pitch to the judges. And so knowing that we put in that preparation, I knew it would come out and it would show in our presentation, and I was really happy.
Yeah, it did. And I will say, as we did not prepare. So we prepared to fail entirely on that. I relied entirely on Jim's public speaking.
I'm able to make up a joke every now and then when I'm on stage.
But I have to say, part of what I think makes you guys work so well together is there is that natural chemistry. You can see it just talking to you guys here in this podcast. Like I said at the beginning, we've never had this many people on the podcast. You guys just seem to pick up where each other leaves off. It's
do the thing.
Not even just a conversation point, like train of thought kind of thing. So that is awesome. That is rare to see. So I'm glad that you guys are crushing it. That everything you're doing is going well.
Yes.
And definitely I feel good about where you guys are headed for the next semester. If people want to get involved with you guys or reach out to you guys or learn a little bit more about Black Minds that they didn't hear about here, where is the best place to go and find you guys at?
Instagram. I feel like that was just a perfect place. It's MU Black Minds. That has everything we've done, all the reels that India has made. So I feel like that's just the best place. DM and our email is on there as well for any information. But yeah, that's like the hub of all our things right now.
There we go.
We love a good Instagram.
Yes, we do. And you can find this podcast on Instagram. We can do that. You can find the Hustling Sideways podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. And we are on TikTok as well.
We are
all of those places.
Yes, we are.
If you do want to be a guest on this podcast, you can do that by sending us an email over at hustlingsideways@gmail.com. I almost forgot it.
But you didn't.
But I didn't. So thank you guys so much for doing this
Thank you.
episode. And Jim,
keep on hustling.
we will see you next week.